Drake has been at the top of the rap game for almost 15 years, so it's not shocking that he's made a lot of enemies. From Kendrick Lamar to Joe Budden, this is a full breakdown of every beef Drake has had in his career. The rap battle between Kendrick and Drake in 2024 was one of the biggest since Biggie and Tupac. Before the beef really popped off, they had been sending shots at each other for over 10 years, but back in the day, Drake and Kendrick were actually cool. They first linked up when Kendrick did a show in Toronto and they hung out in the studio. Drake was the bigger artist at the time and helped Kendrick early in his career by taking him out on tour along with A$AP Rocky. Drake also put Kendrick on his second album, Take Care, on the Buried Alive interlude. Then, Drake also hopped on Kendrick's album, Good Kid, Mad City, and did a feature for the song Poetic Justice. Drake and Kendrick were making great music together, but that all changed after the Big Sean song Control dropped and Kendrick called out the entire rap game. On the track, Kendrick called out every big name in the rap industry, including Drake, rapping, "I'm usually homeboys with the same niggas I'm rhyming with, but this is hip-hop, and them niggas should know what time it is." And that goes for Jermaine Cole, Big Crit, Wale, Pusha T, Meek Mills, A$AP Rocky, Drake, Big Sean, Jay Electron, Tyler, Mac Miller. I got love for you all, but I'm trying to murder you niggas. Most of the rappers Kendrick named knew he wasn't actually dissing or trying to beef, and Drake is the only one who got pressed about it. Drake started taking shots at Kendrick in interviews and called him fake for talking tough on the record, but not keeping the same energy in person. Drake even took a shot at Kendrick on his next album, Nothing Was the Same, on the song The Language, where he rapped, "I am the kid with the motor mouth. I am the one you should worry about. I don't know who you're referring to. Who is this nigga you heard about? Someone just talking that bullshit. Man, someone just gave you the runaround." Then Kendrick clapped back during his 2013 BET Freestyle and rapped, "Yeah, and nothing been the same since they dropped Control," and tucked the sensitive rapper back in his pajama clothes. "Ha ha, joke's on you. High five. I'm bulletproof. Your shots will never penetrate. Pin a tail on the donkey. Boy, you been a fake." After that, Drake and Kendrick sneaked at each other for the next 10 years. Neither one of them called each other out by name and said that fans were reading into the music way too much, but it was pretty clear they didn't like each other. For a while, it seemed like the beef would never go further than Kendrick and Drake sending subliminals at each other. But that changed in 2024 when half the rap game turned against Drake. It all popped off after Kendrick had a surprise feature on the Future and Metro Boomin album, We Don't Trust You, on the track Like That, where Kendrick took a direct shot at Drake and J. Cole. Kendrick and J. Cole used to be tight, but then he started hanging out with Drake, and they even did a song together called First Person Shooter. On the track, Cole admitted that people always call him, Drake, and Kendrick the big three in rap. But at that point, J. Cole felt like he was the best and said, "Love when they argue the hardest MC. Is it K-Dot, is it Aubrey, or me? We the big three like we started a league, but right now, I feel like Muhammad Ali." Kendrick didn't like his old homie clicking up with his enemy while also claiming to be the top rapper, so he decided to show them both who was really the best MC on his Like That verse. On the song, Kendrick rapped, "Oh yeah, yeah, get up with me. Fuck sneak dissing, first person shooter, I hope they came with 3 switches." Later in the verse, he also said, "Motherfuck the big three, nigga, it's just big me. What? I'm really like that. And your best work is a light pack. Nigga, Prince outlives Mike Jack." The last bar was a reference to how Drake always compares himself to Michael Jackson, but Kendrick feels he's more like Prince because his legacy will live longer. Kendrick also had bars for Drake, but at that point, it was still just friendly competition to see who was the better rapper. Drake responded with the track Push-Ups, where he took shots at a lot of people he was beefing with, including Kendrick. He referenced the Prince comparison and also reminded Kendrick that he brought him out on tour for the first time in his own city, rapping, "What the fuck is this? A 20v1 nigga? What's a prince to a king? He a son, nigga. Get more love in the city that you from." What really turned the beef ugly was when Drake mentioned Kendrick's fiance, Whitney Alford, rapping, "I'll be with some bodyguards like Whitney. Top say drop, your little midget ass better drop and give me 50. That was the moment the beef got personal and might have been one of the biggest mistakes of Drake's career. Kendrick wasn't dropping fast enough, so Drake dropped a tailor-made freestyle, which featured a verse from A.I. Tupac and Snoop Dogg begging Kendrick to respond. Kendrick took his time, but when he finally did respond, it was deadly. First, he dropped the track Euphoria, where he warned Drake to keep it to just rap or things could get ugly, rapping, "I make music that electrify 'em. You make music that pacify 'em. I can double down on that line, but spare you this time. That's random acts of kindness. Know you a master manipulator and habitual liar too. but don't tell no lie about me, and I won't tell truths about you. Then he kept applying pressure by dropping the track 616 in LA a few days later, where he claimed there was a mole in Drake's camp who was leaking information, rapping, "Are you finally ready to play? Have you ever? Let's see. Have you ever thought that OVO is working for me? Fake bully. I hate bullies. You must be a terrible person. Everyone inside your team is whispering that you deserve it." Drake didn't waste any time and clapped back with the song Family Matters, where he claimed that Kendrick's business partner, Dave Free, was secretly the father of one of his kids. Drake also accused Kendrick of beating Whitney, rapping, "When you put your hands on your girl, is it self-defense cause she bigger than you? Your back is up against the curb. You digging for dirt, she'll be digging for proof." It might have been a pretty shocking diss, but Kendrick responded less than an hour later with one of the most brutal diss tracks in history, Meet the Grams. On the track, Kendrick spoke to each of Drake's family members one by one, starting with his son Adonis. He told them exactly what kind of man Drake really is, rapping, "Dear Adonis, I'm sorry that man is your father. Let me be honest. It takes a man to be a man. Your dad is not responsive. I look at him and wish your grandpa would have wore a condom." From there, it only got worse, and Kendrick also accused Drake of being involved in human trafficking and having an 11-year-old daughter that the world didn't know about. While fans were still reacting to Meet the Grams, Kendrick dropped Not Like Us the very next day. Not Like Us was the biggest hit in the entire beef. Kendrick doubled down on the accusations about Drake hooking up with minors over a catchy DJ Mustard beat with bars like, "And Baca got a weird case, why is he around? Certified lover boy, certified," and "Why you trolling like a bitch? Ain't you tired? Trying to strike a chord, and it's probably A minor." That was pretty much the kill shot, cause suddenly everyone was dancing and making TikToks to Not Like Us. Drake dropped his response the next day, which was called The Heart Part 6, where he denied all the accusations, but it sounded pretty rushed and like he was getting tired of the beef, so Kendrick didn't even bother to respond. Fans still don't know exactly what was real and what was made up to win the beef, but almost everyone agrees that Kendrick came out on top, especially after Not Like Us made it to #1 on the Billboard chart. Drake might have lost the Kendrick beef, but one time he went up against a legend and came out on top. Back in the day, Common sparked a beef with Drake over Serena Williams. Serena was Common's ex, but in late 2011, early 2012, Serena was also dating Drake. According to Common, he wasn't tripping over it at first, but then he started to feel like Drake was sneak dissing him on a few different records. So he decided to send a shot back and diss Drake on the song Sweet. On the interlude, Common said, "Y'all niggas, man, you soft motherfuckers. Yeah, my man, motherfucker, then come around my crib. You know where I'm from? Some hoe ass niggas singing all around me, man. La la la. You ain't motherfucking Frank Sinatra." Fans immediately thought that was a shot at Drake, who was known for being a singer and rapper. Drake clearly felt the same way, because he responded to Common on stage at the show in Vegas and said, "I might sing, but I ain't no bitch. If Common got something to say it to my face." That officially confirmed they had beef. Common also admitted the verse on Sweet was about Drake during an interview with Sway in the Morning. Then Drake clapped back on the track Stay Scheming with Rick Ross and rapped, "It bothers me when the gods get to acting like the broads. Guess every team doesn't come complete with niggas like ours. That's why I see no need to compete with niggas like y'all. I just ask that when you see me, you speak up. Nigga, that's all. Don't be ducking like you never wanted nothing. It's feeling like rap changed. It was a time it was rugged. Back when if a nigga reached, it was for the weapon. Nowadays, niggas reach just to sell their record." Basically, Drake was calling Common soft and claimed that he was only mentioning his name to help him sell more records. Stay Scheming was a huge hit and one of the biggest songs Drake and Rick Ross ever made together, so Common had no choice but to respond. He clapped back by making a Stay Scheming remix where he called out Drake by name. Common referenced Drake calling him out on stage, rapping, "I heard you said you wasn't a bitch because you sing. You a bitch because you cling like a bitch that's 18. Can't say my name, but rap about a nigga's wife. You so black and white, trying to live a nigga's life. I'm taking too long with this amateur guy. You ain't wet nobody, you Canada dry." Even though Common took a few solid shots, the remix didn't even come close to the numbers that Drake's record did. So Drake ended up winning the battle just by having the more popular song. It didn't go much further than that, and they squashed the beef not long after. Then, they ran into each other at the Grammys later that year and had a few words. Drake's dad was there, and he encouraged them both to settle it like men and end the beef right there. Common realized that he didn't really hate Drake, and neither one of them had said anything so crazy that they could never be cool. So he decided to let it go and just move on. But it did earn Drake some respect from older rap fans for going at it with a respected MC and not backing down. But that wasn't the only beef that started over Serena Williams. Drake also took shots at her current husband, Alexis Ohanian, in 2022 on his collab album with 21 Savage, Her Loss. On the track, Middle of the Ocean, Drake rapped, Sidebar: Serena, your husband a groupie. He claimed we don't got a problem, but no, boo. It is like you coming for sushi. We might pop up on him at will like Suzuki. Drake clearly must still have feelings for Serena, although Alexis didn't respond the same way as Common. Instead, he owns it on Twitter, writing, "The reason I stay winning is because I'm relentless about being the absolute best at whatever I do, including being the best groupie for my wife and daughter." Drake's beef with Common proved he could go up against a legend and hold his own. Who won the battle is still up for debate, because a lot of rap fans still think Common dropped a stronger diss, even if Stay Scheming was a bigger record. A few years later, Drake beefed with another rapper, and almost everyone agrees Drake came out on top, even after he was exposed for using ghostwriters. Drake and Meek Mill started out being cool. They first collaborated together on the song Amen in 2012. Meek was also at the club the night Drake and Chris Brown got into a fight over Rihanna, and ended up riding for Drizzy and the rest of Young Money. So at first, it seemed like they had a decent relationship, but that all changed in 2015, when Meek went on Twitter and decided to expose Drake for using ghostwriters. Drake and Meek just had a major hit with the song Rico, and fans online were debating who had the better verse. That started to get on Meek's nerves, because he went on Twitter to tell fans that Drake didn't even write his own raps. Meek tweeted, "Stop comparing Drake to me too. He don't write his own raps. That's why he ain't tweet my album, because we found out." Meek said he would have taken Drake's verse off the album if he knew he didn't write it himself. He also said that Drake was not the lyricist people thought he was, and nowhere near the level of rappers like Kendrick and J. Cole. Fans were confused, because everyone assumed it was Drake who was writing his own verses. Pop stars use ghostwriters all the time, but in rap, people thought it was totally different. Another rapper named OG Maco then confirmed Meek's accusations by exposing the identity of Drake's ghostwriter as Quentin Miller. OG Maco tweeted, "Some of us been knew. Meek just put it in the air. Meek not hating, he's being honest." OG Maco then posted a screenshot of the credits from If You're Reading This, It's Too Late, which showed Quentin Miller credited on the songs 6 Man, Bands, and Know Yourself. Meek then tweeted Quentin Miller's name to confirm what OG Maco was saying. Funkmaster Flex from Hot 97 also took Meek's side in the beef and claimed that someone from OVO sent him the reference tracks where you can clearly hear Quentin Miller rapping songs like 10 Bands word for word before Drake released them. So it was starting to seem like the accusations were true. It later came out that Meek also heard the reference tracks from DJ Drama, who was trying to expose Drake after he hooked up with Drama's ex, Summer P. Walker. Quentin Miller tried to downplay his role in the writing process and said on Tumblr that most of the project was already done before he even got involved. Even if he did write the records, he probably didn't want to admit it and ruin his relationship with OVO. Drake didn't respond to the accusations on social media. Instead, he got right in the booth and dropped a Meek Mill diss track called Charged Up. He didn't call out Meek by name, but it was pretty clear who he was rapping about. Drake rapped, "I did some charity today for the kids, but I'm used to it cause all y'all charity cases. All y'all stare in my face in hopes you could be the replacement. Niggas are snitching on us without no interrogation. I stay silent cause we at war and I'm very patient. Six God is watching. I just hope you're prepared to face him." Meek tried to play it off like he wasn't impressed, cause after the record dropped, he called it Baby Lotion Soft on Twitter. But everyone was waiting for Meek to respond on the record. Funkmaster Flex even claimed he was about to premiere a new Meek record where he dissed Drake. Fans waited hours to hear the supposed diss, but Funkmaster Flex never actually delivered. Instead, he decided to leak the Quentin Miller reference tracks, but by that point, no one really cared. Drake got tired of waiting for a response and dropped another diss track called Back to Back. Back to Back was even catchier than Charged Up and featured a ton of memorable bars like, "Yeah, trigger fingers turn to Twitter fingers. Yeah, you getting bodied by a singing nigga." At the time, Meek was out on tour with his then girlfriend, Nicki Minaj. That inspired one of the most brutal bars on Back to Back when Drake rapped, "You love her, then you gotta give the world to her. Is that a world tour or your girl's tour?" Back to Back was another hit, and at that point, Drake was up 2 points in the battle. Meek finally responded with the track Wanna Know the next day. Meek took more shots at Drake for using ghostwriters, rapping, "We just want a refund. This ain't what we paid for. Every time that we come, we get what we came for. Splitting another nigga shit, but you claim you king though?" Meek made some good points and had some decent bars, but the response took too long and just wasn't as catchy or viral as Drake's disses. So even though it seemed like the ghostwriting accusations were true, most fans didn't really care and thought that Drake won the battle. The ghostwriter accusations have been used against Drake ever since Meek exposed him, but Drake definitely came out on top. The beef cooled off after that, but Drake and Meek still took some shots at each other. A few weeks later, Drake dropped his collab album with Future, What a Time to Be Alive, which was full of subtle shots at Meek. Meek took some time away from music, but when he came back with his 4 for 4 EP in January 2016, he took a direct shot at Drake on the I'm the Plug freestyle. Meek referenced the track Jumpman from What a Time to Be Alive and dissed Drake for using Riders again when he rapped, Jumpman, 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 Jumpman. Ain't nobody tell him, this ain't what they want, man. You ain't really write it. I'm like, who's your stuntman? 4 for 4 Part 2 dropped a few weeks later, and Meek took another shot at Drake on the track Warpaint, rapping, man, I hate that shit. Niggas be talking out they face, but as soon as you body something, they be singing like they Drake. Wait, niggas dancing like they fruitcakes. Hotline Bling don't get no bang up in this new rate. The same day, Drake also dropped the track Summer 16, which had a few subliminal shots about Meek. In one bar, Drake rapped, I let the diss record drop, you was staying right below me, nigga. We must have played it 100 times. You was going to bed. Why would I put on a vest? I expect you to aim for the head. I could've killed you the first time. You don't have to try and say it louder, nigga. Trust, we heard you the first time. It's nothing personal. I would have done it to anyone. After that, the beef started to die down and there weren't as many disses. It seemed like the fans were getting tired of them going back and forth, and it didn't benefit either one of them to keep bringing it up. Then they officially squashed their beef in September 2018 when Drake brought Meek out on stage to perform Dreams and Nightmares at a show in Boston. They decided to let it go and put the past behind them. In an interview with Sirius XM Radio in 2023, Meek even said that his friendship with Drake is stronger than ever and that they text each other about music and business all the time.
We could text each other and say anything. It could be about a female I like. Yo, Dress, what's up? Who is this? And he gonna definitely call me and say the same thing. I'm a sniper myself, and we got that honesty where we can leave it on the table and we can walk away and feel good about that.
Drake also eventually squashed his beef with DJ Drama. Right after the beef happened, DJ Drama said in an interview with The Breakfast Club that he had a short conversation with Drake after it all went down, but they still hadn't seen each other in person.
I mean, you know, we've had small talk. We haven't seen each other, but, you know, since, I guess as you would put it, a tiff, like, we've been in communication lightly, you know, somewhat. So I feel like he's past that, we're past that, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's where it's at, really.
Years later, in an appearance on Drink Champs, DJ Drama also finally admitted that Drake did smash his girl and that he was the one who showed Meek the reference tracks.
Drake smashed your girl.
Jesus.
Well, which other way am I supposed to say it? Drake had sexual relations with a girl that was affiliated with you.
So fans thought they still had beef after all these years. DJ Drama was even allegedly robbed by Drake fans in Toronto for refusing to check in when he came to the city. The robbers posted about it on social media and shouted out Drake in the video while showing off the chains.
This what you fucking get for not checking in. Shout out boy Drizzy, eh? Triple G's, you know how we rock, slap, brat, clap.
But Drake and DJ Drama never addressed it. A lot of people were surprised to see Drake featured on the Jack Harlow song Churchill Downs in 2023 because Jack is signed to DJ Drama. But Drama went on Twitter and finally squashed the beef, telling fans to kill that narrative because he and Drake had already talked it out like 10 years ago. But after they both made up with Drake, Meek Mill and DJ Drama ended up beefing with each other. Meek dissed Drama on Twitter after he called Lil Uzi Vert's Just Wanna Rock the new Philadelphia anthem over Dreams and Nightmares.
You know, you did see Lil Uzi Vert bring out the Eagles to victory against the 49ers with I Just Wanna Rock. I think it's fair to say that I Just Wanna Rock has replaced, with all due respect, Dreams and Nightmares as the new anthem of Philadelphia, as the new anthem of the Philadelphia Eagles this year.
Meek said that Drama was always trying to divide and conquer and blames him for starting the Drake beef in the first place. Meek probably realized it was better to be cool with Drake than to beef with him, but one rapper Drake beef with who can probably never be cool with again is Pusha T. Drake's beef with Pusha T all started with producer Pharrell Williams and Lil Wayne. Birdman and Pusha T collaborated on a song in 2002 called What Happened to That Boy, which was produced by Pharrell. So at first it seemed like they were all cool, and Wayne even appeared in the video. But Pharrell said that Birdman never paid him for the beat, which is when his beef with Young Money first started. Back in 2006, Wayne was on the cover of Vibe magazine rocking a Bape hoodie, a brand that Pharrell and the Clips made famous. Pusha's brother Malice took a shot at Wayne on the track Mr. Me Too, where he raps, "Wanna know the time? Better clock us. Niggas bite the style from the shoes to the watches." Lil Wayne responded to the diss in an interview with Complex and said that he was not paying attention to the Clips. Wayne also said that when Pharrell wore Bape, everyone thought it was weird, but when he did it, everyone thought it was hot. Ever since then, the Clips did not get along with Wayne or anyone affiliated with Cash Money. Pusha took his first shot at Drake in 2011 with the Don't Fuck With Me remix, which was a remix to Dreams Money Can Buy. On the track, he raps, "Rappers on their sophomores acting like they boss lords. Fame's such a funny thing for sure, when niggas start believing on them encores." Fans thought that was a shot at Drake, especially because it was his beat. In 2012, Pusha dropped the track Exodus 23:1, where he took an even more obvious shot at Drake and raps, "Contracts all fucked up, I guess that means you all fucked up. You signed to one nigga that signed to another nigga that signed to three niggas. Now that's bad luck." At the time, Drake was signed to Lil Wayne, who was also signed to Birdman under Cash Money. Cash Money was also owned by Universal, which means Drake was basically signed to 3 different labels. So it's pretty obvious what Pusha T was rapping about. Even Lil Wayne thought that this was about Drake, because he responded by tweeting, "Fuck Pusha T and anybody that love him." Drake eventually responded on the song Tuscan Leather, where he showed support for Wayne, rapping, "Yeah, I'm just as famous as my mentor, but that's still the boss. Don't get sent for. Get hype on tracks and jump in front of a bullet you wasn't meant for, cause you don't really want to hear me vent more. Hot temper, scary outcome. Here's a reason for niggas that's hating without one, that always let their mouth run. Bench players talking like they starters. I hate it." After Drake got exposed by Meek Mill for having the ghostwriter, Pusha used that as ammo to diss him on the track HGTV Freestyle in 2016. He raps, "It's too far gone when the realest ain't real. I walk amongst the clouds, so your ceilings ain't real. These niggas Call of Duty, cause their killings ain't real. With a questionable pen, so the feeling ain't real." Drake decided to question Pusha T's street cred and claimed he was never the big-time drug dealer he pretended to be. On the track 2 Birds, 1 Stone from his project More Life, Drake raps, "But really it's you with all the drug dealer stories. That's gotta stop though. You made a couple chops and now you think you Chapo. If you ask me though, you ain't lining the trunk with kilos." On the same track, Drake also dissed Kid Cudi, and it seemed like he had beef with everyone in good music. Things were heating up by that point, but neither one of them called the other out directly. But then, Pusha T took a pretty direct shot at Drake by mentioning his ghostwriter, Quentin Miller. On the track Infrared from his album Daytona, Pusha raps, "It was written like Nas, but it came from Quentin." The bar really set the internet on fire and forced Drake to respond with a full diss track where he not only called out Pusha, but also dissed Kanye, who produced all of Daytona. Drake reminded Pusha how much music he'd written for Kanye over the years, rapping, "So if you rebuke me for working with someone else on a couple of V's, what do you really think of the nigga that's making your beats? I've done things for him I thought that he would never need. Father had to stretch his hands out and get it from me." Drake also continued to question Pusha T's street cred and raps, "Your brother said it was your cousin, then him, then you. So, you don't rap what you did, you just rap what you knew. Don't be ashamed. There's plenty niggas that do what you do. There's no malice in your heart. You're an approachable dude." Drake also responded to the ghostwriting allegations and said that he let Quentin write for him to change his life, not because he needed the help, rapping, "And as for Q, man, I changed his life a couple times. Nigga was at Kroger working double time. Y'all acting like he made the boy when I was trying to help the guy." Finally, Drake said Pusha T and Kanye should pay him for the free publicity, rapping, "It's gonna be a cruel summer for you. I told Weezy and Baby, I'ma done them for you. Tell Ye we got an invoice coming to you, considering that we just sold another 20 for you." Drake even posted a screenshot of an invoice requesting $100,000 from Good Music for promotional assistance and career reviving. Duppy Freestyle was a pretty solid diss, and most fans were impressed by how quick Drake responded. But nobody knew that Pusha T was about to drop a bomb that would change Drake's career forever. A few days later, Pusha T dropped The Story of Adi Don, where he exposed Drake for having a kid the world didn't know about. Pusha raps, "Since you name dropped my fiance, let him know who you choose as your Beyonce. Sophie knows better as your baby mother. Cleaned her up for IG, but the stench is on her." Sophie Brousseau is a French porn star who was later revealed to be Drake's baby mama. Pusha was responding to a line on Duppy Freestyle, where Drake name dropped Pusha's fiance, rapping, "And I'ma let it ring on you like Virginia Williams." Pusha then continued to get more info about Drake's son, rapping, "A baby's involved, it's deeper than rap, we talking character. Let me keep with the facts. You were hiding a child, let that boy come home. Deadbeat motherfucker, playing border patrol. Adonis is your son, and he deserves more than an Adidas press run. That's real. Love that baby, respect that girl. Forget she's a porn star, let her be your world." After the song dropped, it came out that Drake did have a son named Adonis. He was planning on announcing it to the world with an Adidas campaign called Adi Don, but Pusha T found out about it first and exposed the info before Drake could do it himself. The cover art for the song also showed Drake in blackface for a modeling campaign he did as a teenager, which made it even crazier. The whole internet was going wild, and everyone was waiting to hear Drake respond, but the response never came. Jay Prince from Rap-A-Lot Records, who was one of Drake's mentors, later said he was the reason Drake never responded. Drake supposedly wrote a brutal diss track about Pusha T and was getting ready to release it, but Jay Prince felt like the beef was getting out of control and it could have ended Drake's career if he put it out. So Jay Prince convinced Drake to just take the L and move on. On the Rap Radar podcast in 2019, Drake admitted that he took the L and his beef with Pusha T was the first real loss he'd taken as a lyricist in his career.
And definitely, warranted my first quote unquote, loss in the competitive sport of rapping. By choice, obviously, because I bowed out after realizing like the gap between us allowed him to drop, a bomb on the world. It was just, he told the world that the biggest artist at the time has a kid that he hasn't told you about.
But he still continued to question Pusha T's street cred and called his music cap. But Pusha T isn't the only rapper from Good Music that Drake had beef with. He also had a legendary beef with the head of the label, Kanye West. Drake and Kanye didn't always have beef. Kanye directed the video for Drake's first single, Best I Ever Had, and Drake has admitted that Kanye was one of his biggest influences. But as Drake got bigger and bigger and took Ye's spot as the #1 pop star in rap, they started to hate each other. In 2016, Ye took a shot at Drake and DJ Khaled on stage at the Life of Pablo tour and claimed that it was unfair that their song For Free was the only song getting radio play at the time. Kanye also took shots at a ton of people on that tour and ended up being hospitalized before it was even over. But that was just the beginning of his beef with Drake. It really popped off after Kanye produced Pusha T's Daytona album, including the song Infrared, where he dissed Drake. Then Drake responded with the Duppy freestyle, and it had just as many shots at Kanye as it did at Pusha T. After Pusha T dropped the story of Adi Don, Drake went on LeBron James' show, The Shop, and accused Kanye of leaking the information about his son.
By the way, I'm in Wyoming. I play him March 14th. I send him a picture of my son.
Oh my God.
I tell him I'm having trouble with my son's mother. We had a conversation. I shared my... So I wake up and all these dates are out one by one, all around June 15th.
But Pusha T later said it didn't come from Kanye. The info came from a girl who was messing with Drake's producer, OVO 40. On The Shop, Drake also accused Kanye of planning the rollout of Daytona, Ye, and the other Wyoming albums to kill the hype for his album Scorpion. Drake revealed that he was invited to Wyoming to work on those projects. While he was there, he heard the beat for the track Lift Yourself and fell in love with it. Drake offered to buy the beat from Kanye for $2 million, and they even had an agreement. But instead of selling the beat, Kanye kept it for himself and rapped a bunch of gibberish over it just to troll Drake. Kanye later apologized to Drake for dropping around the same time as Scorpion and denied leaking the info about his son. But the beef didn't end there. When Drake was featured on Travis Scott's song Sicko Mode, some fans were convinced he was taking shots at Kanye. On the song, Drake raps, "I crept down the block, made a right, cut the lights, paid the price. Niggas think it's sweet, it's on sight. Nothing nice, but gets in my ice. Jesus Christ, checks over stripes, that's what I like. That's what we like. Lost my respect, you not a threat. When I shoot my shot, that shit wetty like I'm Shaq." The most obvious bar that's about Kanye is the checks over stripes. At the time, Drake had a partnership with Nike, whose logo was a swoosh or a check mark. Kanye was signed with Adidas, whose logo was 3 stripes. There was also a rumor going around that Drake hooked up with Kim Kardashian, which is where the beef between him and Kanye really started. If you look at a map, Kanye and Kim's house in Calabasas is right down the block and to the right from Drake's. So fans thought that was Drake's way of letting Kanye know he smashed his wife Kim. There was also a rumor that Kim was Kiki from Drake's song In My Feelings, where he sings, "Kiki, do you love me?" The rumors got so crazy that even Kanye heard them and got mad at Drake for not responding. Toward the end of 2018, Kanye went on a series of Twitter rants where he dissed Drake multiple times. Kanye called out Drake for not responding to the rumors that he hooked up with Kim and for dissing him on Sicko Mode.
The fact that it's people making rumors or thinking that you fuck my wife and you not saying nothing and you carrying it like that don't sit well with my spirit.
Ye even called him a bully and claimed that Drake was threatening his family over the drama. After that, the beef went quiet for a while, but it started back up again in 2021 after Drake dissed Kanye on the Trippie Redd song Betrayal and raps, "I done it all. It's like I'm shawty low. All these fools I'm beefing that I barely know. 45, 44, let it go. Ye ain't changing shit for me. It's set in stone." After the song dropped, Kanye responded by doxing Drake and posting a photo of his house on Google Maps to his Instagram and then deleting it. Drake responded by going in on Kanye on the song 7 AM on Bridal Path from Certified Lover Boy. Drake referenced Kanye revealing his address, rapping, "You know the fourth level of jealousy is called media. Isn't that an ironic revelation? Give that address to your driver. Make it your destination, instead of just a post out of desperation." Around the same time, Drake also leaked a version of Kanye's song, "Life of the Party," on his radio show, which featured a verse from Andre 3000. On that version, Kanye also took a shot at Drake, rapping, "My neighbor's still dissing, wondering why I ain't saying it. I can smell the setup. That's that Tupac in Vegas hit." So it seemed like the beef was getting pretty serious and might actually turn into a real rap battle. But before that happened, people behind the scenes shut it down. Drake and Kanye officially settled their beef by reuniting to perform at the Free Larry Hoover concert in LA. Jay Prince from Rap-A-Lot Records, the same dude who convinced Drake not to drop his response to the story of Adi Don, also convinced him to end his beef with Kanye. They even took a photo together to prove they were cool again. For a while, it seemed like the beef was officially over, but apparently, that was only for social media. On his collab album with 21 Savage, Her Loss, Drake revealed that he only made up with Ye to please Jay Prince, rapping, "Linking with the ops, bitch, I did that shit for Jay Prince." In 2023, Drake randomly dissed Kanye again by sampling Kim talking about their divorce on his song Search and Rescue. Drake also called out Kanye for being fake on his track Red Button from For All the Dogs Scary Hours, rapping, "Every time that Yeezy called a truce, he had my head inflated, thinking we gon' finally piece it up and get to levitating. Realized that everything premeditated. Everyone was good with me, then everyone expression faded." When people were going after Drake in early 2024, Kanye joined in by dropping a Like That remix where he took a shot at Drake, rapping, "Y'all so out of sight, out of mind, I can't even think of a Drake line." In an interview, Kanye also said that Future invited him to the studio when they were working on all the disses and said that they were all energized by the elimination of Drake.
Wow. Called me, I went to the studio, laid that, and then we, went through the creative process, adding the chords, and called the Hooligans, called them out in London to get on a joint. And, everybody was very, very excited about the elimination of Drake.
So at this point, it seems like the beef will probably never end. Kanye isn't the only one of Pusha T's producers that Drake is beef with, and he's also recently started taking shots at Pharrell Williams. Drake's problems with Pharrell started with Pusha T and the Neptunes dissing Lil Wayne and Birdman back in the day. It didn't seem like they had direct beef until Drake took a shot at Pharrell on the track Meltdown with Travis Scott. On the song, Drake raps, "Man, fuck all that spinning the narrative shit. I melt down the chains that I bought from your boss. Give a fuck about all that heritage shit. Since V not around, the members done hung up the Louis. They not even wearing that shit." In the video for Drake's song, Jumbotron Poppin' with Lil Yachty, he flexed about $3 million worth of jewelry that used to be Pharrell's. So even though Drake was taking a shot at Pusha T, he's claiming that he melted down all of his boss's old jewelry. Pharrell was also named the new creative director at Louis Vuitton after Virgil Abloh died. So Drake is claiming now that Virgil's gone and Pharrell is in charge, no one is wearing Louis V anymore. Pharrell is known for being a super nice dude who doesn't have problems with anyone. A lot of people weren't cool with Drake dissing him like that. And on Euphoria, Kendrick rapped about it and said, "I don't like you popping shit at Pharrell. For him, I inherit the beef." But Drake doubled down on Family Matters, where he flexed with Pharrell's chains again and said, "You want to take up for Pharrell? Then come get his legacy out of my house." Now there are even rumors that Pharrell might have responded to Drake on his new single, Double Life, from the Despicable Me soundtrack, but the bars weren't very direct. Kanye and Pharrell aren't the only legendary producers Drake has dissed. Drake also took a shot at Swizz Beatz on Certified Lover Boy for dissing him in a round on Instagram Live. Their beef started after Drake did a song with Busta Rhymes over a Jay Dilla beat while they were both signed to Young Money. The song ended up getting leaked, and Swizz thought Drake might have leaked it himself. While he was on IG Live with Busta Rhymes, Swizz went off on Drake and called him a pussy. On the live, he said,
"That kid is a good kid as well. He's not a bad kid, he's a good kid. He started from different things. We made hit record together. It's all love. I just want to play music because my filter is burnt."
Making sure we understand everything before we express how much our filter is burnt. That's all. I just want to give you the fullness on the understanding.
But at the end of the day, niggas is pussy for real. What's up? Pop off. Let's go.
Swizz and Drake worked together back in the day on the track Fancy for Drake's first album, Thank Me Later. But apparently, Swizz didn't appreciate Drake leaking the song with Busta Rhymes so no one could profit from it. Busta defended Drake and said that even if he did leak the song, Drake probably didn't mean anything by it. But Swizz didn't want to hear it and continued calling Drake a pussy. He even called Drake a little man and threatened to shoot down his private jet, Air Drake. The next day, Swizz apologized for his comments and said that he was in the wrong headspace at the time.
I want to address my actions on Zone Radio last night, man. You know, mainly because I was in the wrong space, I was in the wrong energy, you know, and I hate that my kids and other people got to see me be on that side. I was a little nice, I was a little excited.
Although he still took a slight shot at Drake by saying,
although I might feel a certain way about a certain person and different things like that, as a G, I'm man enough to say that, you know, I did that on the wrong platform and I wasn't supposed to do that like that.
The OVO camp clearly didn't accept the apology because Drake's right-hand man Chubbs responded on his IG story writing, "We don't need no apology. It's clear you don't like us, so act the same way when you see us, pussy." Drake also had a few bars for Swizz Beatz on the track You Only Live Twice from Certified Lover Boy. On the song, Drake raps, "Unthinkable when I think of the way these niggas been acting. Yeah, I never did you nothing and you play like we family, huh? Next thing, you wanna shoot me down? It can't be love. Not sure where you was trying to send it? It can't be up. That day you sounded like a bitch. You fancy, huh?" The first bar is a reference to the track Unthinkable, which is a collab between Drake and Swizz Beatz' wife, Alicia Keys. The final bar is also clearly a reference to Drake's song Fancy, which was produced by Swizz. Swizz was later asked about the diss in an interview with Timbaland and Angie Martinez, but this time, he didn't want the smoke.
And I actually like the song, you know what I'm saying? Like, and he didn't go too crazy in the record also. You know, he could have said many things. That man is a clever artist. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a very clever artist. Like, he could have really gave me about 40 bars.
So it seems like Swizz learned his lesson and isn't interested in going back and forth with Drake. Swizz Beatz was willing to let it go even after Drake responded. But this next rapper took the opposite approach and dropped back-to-back diss tracks without ever getting a real response from Drake. The beef between Drake and Joe Budden might go back as far as 2009. Just like Kanye, Drake admits that Joe Budden was an inspiration to him when he first started making music. In an old video from Joe's YouTube channel, Drake said that it was an honor to hang out with him because he grew up listening to Joe.
I'm happy, I'm honored, I'm honored to be around you, man. This is the first time.
Yo, come on.
Okay, so I can't be honest on your network here? I can't be honest to your fans and say I'm honored to be around you? We all used to listen to you, so I don't need. You need to take. You need. That's what you need. You need to learn how to take compliments.
Around the same time, Drake also dropped a song called Good Riddance, where he name-dropped Budden, rapping, "If I copy Budden's flow, you mimicking his career, and the same money we hearing you giving to charity." Even though it wasn't a direct shot, some people think that the beef may have started there after Drake was being nice in person, but sneak dissing on records. If there was tension behind the scenes, it didn't turn into a full-blown beef until a few years later, after Joe Budden blew up as a podcaster. When Drake dropped Views in 2016, Joe Budden gave his opinion of the album on his podcast and said he wasn't all that impressed. Even though he acknowledged that Drake was a major talent in forcing rap, Joe said that on Views, Drake sounded uninspired and wasn't really trying at that point.
I think that kid on that album that I heard sounds real fucking uninspired. I said the other day on this podcast, I miss the Drake that starts the waves, not hops on other waves. And I'll say it again. I miss Drake that pushes the fucking agenda.
A few weeks later, Drake dropped a track called 4 p.m. in Calabasas that was full of sneak disses. He didn't call anyone out by name, but most people thought Drake was sending shots at Meek Mill and Diddy, who Drake was also beefing with at the time. But Joe Budden was convinced that Drake was also sending subliminals at him. On that track, Drake raps, "I thought we looked out for one another, saw us all as brothers in the struggle, too blessed to be humble. I guess it's different in the city I come from. All of a sudden, I got people showing how much they truly resent me. They whole demeanor just spells envy. They trying to tempt me." While that could have been about anyone, Joe was convinced it was a shot at him and broke it down on his podcast. The line about spelling envy is supposedly a reference to Fat Joe's album, Jealous One's Envy, which also spells out Joe. At the time, a lot of people thought Joe was reaching, but Drake has taken subliminal shots like that before, so looking back on it, Joe might have been onto something. A few weeks after that, Joe responded with the Drake diss track called Making a Murderer Part 1. In the interlude, he sampled the audio from their first meeting in 2009, where Drake admitted to being inspired by Joe's music. Joe also called Drake his son, rapping, "You made me proud, lad, but it seems my child mad. With all the clout that he grabbed, it's still doubts from his dad." Joe didn't even wait for Drake to respond and dropped another diss track called Wake, where he remixed a bar from Drake's Meek Mill diss back to back, rapping, "Don't send a text. I don't care y'all mad. Shit, I waited 5 days. Nigga, where y'all at?" Joe did not let his foot off the gas and dropped another diss track after that called Afraid, where he sampled Drake's song The Resistance. On Afraid, Joe also referenced the rumors about Drake getting plastic surgery years before it was brought up in his recent beefs, rapping, "Wish we could go back and grab the BlackBerry with the scroll. Yeah, Aubrey, that's the one we trusted, not this new Aubrey with his stomach sculpted." Not long after that, Drake had a feature on the French Montana song No Shopping, where he took another subliminal shot at Joe, calling him a one-hit wonder. On the song, Drake raps, "Pump, pump, pump it up. She got a good head on her, but I pump it up. I'm not a one-hit wonder, they know all my stuff. You let me turn into the nigga that you almost was." That was the more obvious diss in 4 p.m. in Calabasas, because Pump It Up was the name of Joe Budden's biggest hit. Joe never really had as much mainstream success after that, so it was pretty clear who Drake was talking about. If that wasn't enough, Drake later confirmed the beef by name-dropping Joe on stage during the Summer 16 tour. On stage, he clowned Joe saying,
"I should have brought Joe Budden up here and let him do Pump It Up one time tonight. Pump it up. Fuck the niggas, man."
The beef took a wild turn after a group of Drake fans showed up to Joe Budden's house just to troll him. The fans somehow found Joe's address and pulled up to his crib while he was getting into his car. They were recording the whole thing, but probably didn't expect Joe to chase him down and confront them on camera. After that, they probably both realized that the internet was taking things way too far because the beef died down for a while. There weren't any more diss tracks, but Budden and Drake still took shots at each other. In 2019, when Joe Budden went live on Instagram during his annual pool party, Drake showed up in the comments and trolled Joe by requesting the DJ play his diss tracks. During the pandemic, they claimed to have squashed the beef after they had a friendly exchange on Instagram Live. But that didn't last long, and Drake was back to trolling Joe in 2022. Drake was out at a restaurant in St. Tropez playing Pump It Up and posted it on his IG story, asking Joe where else he had him going so crazy.
Where else, Joey, would you have him going so crazy?
When Drake dropped For All the Dogs in 2023, Joe Budden slammed the album on his podcast and said that it sounded like he was rapping for the younger generation to stay relevant instead of making better music.
I'm want to hear adult Drake rapping for adult people.
No, you're not gonna hear that.
That's my issue with him today.
You're not gonna hear that because
he rapping for the kids, the streams.
But Joe also admitted that he's still a big Drake fan and thought it was his best project since Scorpion. Drake either didn't hear that part or chose to ignore it because he responded with a long Instagram caption where he called Joe a failed musician who now has to pay his bills by criticizing real artists. Drake also doubled down by taking another shot at Joe on the track Stories About My Brother from For All the Dogs, Scary Hours edition. On the track, Drake raps, "Imagine us getting our validation from an ex-musician searching for recognition. Same story every time, the heckle and repetition." Joe Budden isn't dissing Drake, but the beef is never gonna end because Drake gets pressed every time Budden talks about his music. Joe Budden isn't the only OG Drake took shots at. Before that, he also got into a beef with Ludacris after Drake accused him of jacking the flow. The beef started in 2010 after Drake made a comment about Ludacris in an interview. Drake was asked about the punchline flow that was popular at the time, which was started by Big Sean on the track Super Duper. Drake said that it was Big Sean who really invented the flow and he and Wayne perfected it, but now a ton of rappers were overusing it and made it corny. Drake said that rappers would be like, "It's a parade, Macy's," which was actually a Ludacris bar from the track My Chick Bad. Big Sean was also asked about the flow in an interview with Sway in the Morning. Sean agreed that he invented it, but Drake made it popular in the mainstream. When asked about Ludacris, Big Sean gave him his props for being a great MC, but he also took a slight shot by saying that some rappers who did the flow great and others who didn't do so great. Ludacris decided to respond on the track Bada Boom, where he took some clear shots at Drake and Big Sean. On the track, Ludacris rapped, "Counterfeit rappers say I'm stealing their flows, but I can't steal what you never made up, bitch. Y'all some duplicate rap cloning niggas. I manufacture you hoes. Put on your makeup, bitch. Let me explain. Nothing's been new since Big Daddy came. Flows will get recycled, passed around in different names. But what's the same? That every verse I spit is insane." Ludacris made it even more obvious what he was talking about when he ended his verse rapping, "But my fans know the difference because My Chick Bad went platinum. Still winning, motherfucker." Big Sean responded on Twitter by saying he had nothing but love for Ludacris and considered him a legend. Drake also replied to the tweet and said, "You already know. I wish they just let young niggas live. Respect always." Then he added, "Who can I trust in 2012? No one, not even myself." For a while, it seemed like there wasn't any real beef, but a few years later, Drake took another shot at Ludacris. On the track How About Now, Drake raps, "I used to always try and burn you CDs of my new shit. You be like, who's this? I'll be like, me, girl. You be like, oh, word? True shit? Then ask if we could listen to Ludacris." The bar also might have been a diss about Drake's ex, Candace Henry, who's also rumored to have dated Ludacris. Then in an interview with The Breakfast Club in 2015, Ludacris admitted that there was truth to the bar from How About Now, which meant that he probably smashed Drake's girl.
How did you feel when he said your name in that How About Now? When he said he was playing his music for the chick, and the chick was like, oh, turn that off. You listen to Ludacris?
Yeah, you know
was that
what?
A shot? I don't know.
Nah, you know what's crazy is I think it's a little bit of a true story behind that. His girl at the time, with all due respect, was probably doing a little bit more than that. But it's a true story, and I think that's why he said that. And you know, people can respect this man for being very honest on record.
Yeah, he's very open.
So it may have been deeper than just a stolen flow. The beef didn't go much further than that though. And after Views won Album of the Year at the Billboard Music Awards in 2017, Drake officially squashed the beef with Ludacris. Drake shouted out Ludacris on stage and said that even if they didn't always see eye to eye, he was still a big fan and had a lot of love for him.
I want to say, Ludacris, I know we haven't always seen eye to eye, but I've always been a big fan of yours, man. I got a lot of love for you. I want to let you know that face to face while I'm still here.
Ludacris also later said in an interview that Drake had already reached out to him before the speech and that they were all good. But Ludacris wasn't the only rapper Drake got into a beef with over a woman. Around the same time, Drake also started a beef with Tyga and Kylie Jenner, and even Blac Chyna got dragged into it. Early in their careers, it seemed like Drake and Tyga were cool. They were both part of Young Money and even made a hit record together after Tyga was featured on Drake's song The Model with Lil Wayne. The Model ended up going 3 times platinum and sold over 3 million copies. Even though Drake and Tyga made some great music together, that doesn't mean they were ever really friends. The whole beef started after Tyga took some shots at Drake in interviews. In an interview with Power 106 in LA, Tyga was asked,
you look in the ocean, you see Nicki Minaj, and you see Lil Wayne. Who do you pull up? And who do you leave in the ocean?
Why couldn't it be like Nicki or Drake or something like that?
I'm gonna get there too. Only
Nicki.
one. You'll pull up Nicki.
Yeah.
So Drake. Now let's put you back on the rap.
All right.
Lil Wayne or Drake? Who do you save and who do you let drown?
You know.
I think you say Lil Wayne.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Tyga also added that he didn't hate Drake and was a fan of his music, but that also made it sound like he wasn't a huge fan of Drake as a person.
Man, what's your problem with Drake?
Yeah, why do you hate him so much?
Yeah.
I don't hate him.
No, we're just reading
We
on the
really
blog.
wanna
I like his music.
I like his music.
We got Tyga in the neighborhood, big boy.
Big boy.
A year later, Tyga let it be known how he really felt about Drake in an interview with Vibe. Tyga got real about his issues with Young Money and admitted that he didn't like Drake as a person. Tyga said he thought Drake was fake and their relationship was entirely forced by the label. Even though he was a fan of Drake's music, they were never really friends. At the time, Tyga had just broken up with Blac Chyna, who's also the mother of his son, King Cairo. So Drake decided to get back at Tyga for his comments by liking a bunch of Blac Chyna's photos on Instagram. Tyga responded by taking a shot at Drake on the track Make It Work, where he raps, "Nigga was never my homie. All these bitches know you're corny." So Drake took another petty shot and posted a photo of himself with a young Kylie Jenner, writing, "@Kylie Jenner in the cut." Kylie was still underage at the time, but there were rumors she and Tyga were already dating after they'd been seen hanging out and liking each other's photos. So Drake was clearly trolling. Blac Chyna also added to the drama by liking a bunch of Drake's old posts on Twitter, which had fans going crazy. Then Drake had a few bars for Tyga on his next project, If You're Reading This, It's Too Late. On the track 6 p.m. in New York, Drake raps, "I heard a lil homie talking reckless and vibe. That's quite a platform you chose. You should have kept it inside. Oh, you tried? It's so childish calling my name on the world stage. You need to act your age and not your girl's age." After that, it got to the point where Tyga had to address the rumors about Kylie in an interview with The Breakfast Club. Tyga made it clear that he and Kylie were not dating and that he didn't leave his family to be with her. Tyga also said that he just didn't like Drake because of personal experiences he had while they were on the same label. After that, the beef died down and they both went different directions in their careers. But even after all these years, it seems like there might still be some tension. In 2022, Drake took a shot at Tyga during the Nike Maxim Awards. During his speech, Drake listed off all the incredible talent that was sponsored by Nike, from LeBron James to Virgil Abloh. But he also added,
And I'm pretty sure Reebok has Tyga, so we're good.
Drake is beef with almost half the rap game at this point, and it isn't just the guys. He also got backlash for starting to beef with Meg Thee Stallion after her situation with Tory Lanez. Even though they seem cool now, Drake and Tory Lanez have had their own issues over the years. It all started in 2015 when Tory took a slight shot at Drake during a freestyle on Sway in the Morning where he raps, "I know these niggas about to act scary. T.O. nigga, only spitting without the Blackberry." This was a reference to when Drake got caught freestyling off his Blackberry on Hot 97 back in 2009. Not long after that, Tory took another shot at Drake on Twitter by claiming that calling Toronto the Six was not cool. Drake was clearly paying attention because it seemed like he took a slight shot at Tory on the track Summer 16 when he rapped, "All you boys in the new Toronto wanna be me a little." When asked about the line in an interview with Revolt, Tory said that Drake could diss him 20,000 times and he never respond because he was that big of a fan.
I'm a fucking Drake fan. Like I don't like, you know what I'm saying? Drake could diss me 20,000 times. I'd never diss him, bro.
But then, a few weeks later, Tory dropped a remix to Uber Everywhere, which featured a few bars that were clearly about Drake. On the song, Tory raps, "Yeah, pussy boy, I'll slap that smile clean off your face. You don't know no trap niggas, you don't be round this way. You some actor nigga, boy. I used to see you on the screen." Drake was an actor before getting into rap, so it isn't much of a stretch to think he's the target. It seems like Drake took it as a diss, because he responded by questioning where Tory was really from on the track Still Here from Views. Tory reps Toronto, but he's really from Brampton, another city that's about 45 minutes away. So on Still Here, Drake raps, "You not from the city, I could tell, dog. Did it by myself, dog." In an interview with Ebro in the Morning, Tory said that his beef with Drake was more about competition and there were no personal issues.
At the end of the day, there's never gonna be a personal problem. There's never been a personal problem because I don't know that man. It's just one of those situations where the only thing that's ever gonna lie in between us is that we can't share first place. And I'm the only guy that's bold enough to come and really take that right now.
Drake responded again on the song Do Not Disturb from his album More Life when he raps, "You overnight celebrity, you one day star. I swear I told you I'm in this bitch for eternity. I am a reflection of all your insecurities. Behind closed doors, a lot of six God worshiping. Done talk now, cause there's other shit that concerning me." The first line is a reference to Tory Lanez's real name, Daystar Peterson, and the second bar is a play on the name of his first album, I Told You. So Drake was making it perfectly clear that he saw Tory as nothing more than a fan and didn't think of him as a threat. The beef could have gotten pretty crazy if Tory responded, but a few months later, they officially squashed it by linking up and sharing a photo together on IG. Fans were wondering how long it would take before Tory was back to dissing Drake, but since then they stayed cool, and Drake even showed support for Tory during his legal situation with Meg Thee Stallion. Drake even took it a step further by dissing Meg on his album, Her Loss. On the song, Circo Loco, Drake raps, "This bitch lie about getting shots, but she's still a stallion. She don't even get the joke, but she's still smiling." The bar was pretty controversial when it dropped, because it sounded like Drake was accusing Meg of lying about getting shot. Meg also slammed Drake on Twitter, writing, "Stop using my shooting for clout, bitch ass nigga. Since when the fuck is it cool to joke about women getting shot?" Drake then kept the beef going by taking shots at Meg on stage during the show in Houston. During the show, Drake gave a shout out to another woman named Meg, who was a photographer for the event. Drake gave her credit for being there since the beginning and made it clear he was shouting out this Meg, not the other one. So it was only a matter of time before Meg had to respond with a track. Meg took shots at Drake on the song Hiss in early 2024. On the song, Meg addressed Drake's plastic surgery rumors, rapping, "These niggas hate on BBLs and be walking around with the same scars. Real curvy, no etching, niggas fight to get in my section." She also made fun of the different accents Drake uses in his music, rapping, "Cosplay gangsters, fake ass accents, posted in another nigga hood like a bad bitch." The last bar could be a reference to the time Drake pulled up in Compton to film a video for the song 100 with the gang, where he took shots at Kendrick Lamar, who grew up in Compton. His got more attention for the disses about Nicki Minaj and Tory Lanez, so the Drake lines flew under the radar. But a few months later, when the entire industry was going at Drake, fans realized that Meg actually started the wave. Meg Thee Stallion wasn't the only rapper who clowned Drake for getting plastic surgery. Rick Ross also decided to hop into the beef and gave Drake his new nickname, BBL Drizzy. Drake and Rick Ross used to be tight. They made a ton of hits together over the years and were even talking about doing an entire collab album together. They did have issues after Drake started beefing with Meek Mill, who was signed to Rick Ross. Around that time, Ross also took shots at Birdman on the song Idols Become Rivals. But Drake and Ross eventually let it go and were back in the studio working together. Something clearly happened behind the scenes that changed their relationship, because when everyone started going at Drake in early 2024, Rick Ross was one of the main rappers dissing him. Fans started to notice something was up after they realized Rick Ross unfollowed Drake on Instagram. Drake's first response track, Push Ups, Drop and Give Me 50, also had multiple shots at Ross. Drake referenced Rick Ross's past as a corrections officer and claimed that he gave Ross every hit he ever had, rapping, "I might take your latest girl and cuff her like I'm Ricky. Can't believe he jumping in. This nigga turning 50. Every song that made it on the chart, he got from Drizzy. Spend that little check you got and stay about my business." Ross responded only a few hours later by dropping Champagne Moments. On the track, Ross referenced Drake's ghostwriting accusations and questioned his label situation, rapping, "Ghostwriters, they get to floss what you could've had. Record label taking the loss, are you in your bag? You a worker wanting the chart, don't make me laugh." On the outro, Ross also claimed that Drake had gotten plastic surgery, including a nose job and ab surgery. Ross revealed that he had beef with Drake after Drake sent French Montana a cease and desist that stopped him from getting a feature cleared. After that, Drake and Ross started going back and forth on social media. Rick Ross started calling Drake White Boy and nicknamed him BBL Drizzy.
"White boy, you got a Chevy, white boy?" I doubt it. But anyway, big nose. Big nose. Boy, you had 25% body fat with a carved out 6-piece stock. We know what time it is. That shit costs 40 bands.
Drake also shared a screenshot of a conversation with his mom where Drake called Ross angry and racist and said that a weight loss drug Ross was taking made him loopy. When Drake dropped his next response, Family Matters, he had a few more lines about Ross. Drake raps, "What the fuck? I heard Rick drop, nigga. Talking something about a nose job, nigga. Ozempic got a side effect of jealousy, and doctor never told y'all niggas. Put a nigga in the bars, let a nigga rot, kinda like your old job, nigga. House sitting on some land, but it's out there where no one even really knows y'all niggas." Rick Ross didn't even have to respond because Kendrick ended the beef that weekend by dropping Meet the Grams and Not Like Us. Drake did take another shot at Ross on his final response, The Heart Part 6. In the middle of the beef, Rick Ross's private plane had to make an emergency landing right after he was arguing with Drake about who had the best jet. So in The Heart Part 6, Drake raps, "I'll slit your throat with the razor and do Rick Ross air like that one flight from Malaysia." But by that point, Drake had already been defeated, so Ross didn't even have to respond. Instead, he continued to troll Drake on social media and showed him that they were all bumping Not Like Us at the pool party he was at.
"BBL Drizzy, I'm at the pool party, and they just called you a petty. You a choker? They backed it up at the party." Come on, black boy.
Rick Ross isn't the only former business partner that turned against Drake in the Kendrick beef. Future also helped kick it all off, even though he used to be tight with Drake. Drake and Future's relationship goes back over 10 years. They've made a ton of music together and even have an entire collab album called What a Time to Be Alive. But just like Tyga, it seems like their relationship was strictly music and they were never real friends. From the beginning, Drake and Future didn't always see eye to eye. The first time they worked together was when Drake hopped on the remix of Future's song, Tony Montana. It was a big look for Future, who was still on the come up. But when it came to shoot the video, Drake didn't come through. Future later said in an interview,
"I was just trying to deliver a great video. I was just trying to deliver what the people heard, what the fans heard, and what I seen. Why I choose you to get on my record out of all people. So many people from Atlanta wanted to get on this song. And it just like basically a slap in my face because they like, shit, you should have did it from somebody from Atlanta who was gonna get in the video, who wanted to be part of your video."
So Drake not coming through felt disrespectful. Future clearly got over it because they continued working together over the years. But now it seems like there might be some tension. The last time they worked together was on the song Wait For You with Thames. Even though the song was a major hit, they never performed it together, which fans thought was strange. There was also a rumor going around that Future was mad at Drake for making a collab album with 21 Savage instead of calling him because it made What a Time to Be Alive less important. But at the time, they were just rumors and there wasn't any evidence to prove they had problems. Until Future released his collab album, We Don't Trust You with Metro Boomin, which is full of shots at Drake. Kendrick's feature on Like That was a direct shot at Drake and J. Cole, which is what set off the legendary Drake-Kendrick beef. Future also had a few bars on the title track, We Don't Trust You, which fans think is about Drake. On the song, Future raps, "You a nigga #1 fan, dog. Sneak dissing, I don't understand, dog. Pillow talking, acting like a fed, dog. I don't need another fake friend, dog. Can't be about a hoe, cause we sharing, dog. In your feelings, nigga, why you paying, dog? Give her back shots while she laying down." This started a rumor that Drake and Future had a falling out after they were both hooking up with the same girl. The internet even tracked down a woman who they claim started the beef. There's a track on Future's album called Magic Don Juan, Princess Diana. The woman's name was Diana, and she also called herself Princess in her Instagram bio, so fans were convinced they found the source of the beef. But Diana later shot down the rumors and said that no one was beefing over her because she's not that important.
Nobody's beefing over me. I'm not that important. I'm just a regular girl. I'm just a regular person. It ain't about me.
Metro Boomin also confirmed that fans were just making things up for engagement. Drake did respond to Future on the track Push Ups, where he raps, "I can never be nobody #1 fan. Your first #1, I had to put it in your hand." Drake then took another shot at Future on Family Matters for dropping back-to-back mixtapes dissing him, rapping, "Pluto shit make me sick to my stomach. We ain't never really been through it. Leyland Wayne, he a fucking lame, so I know he has to be an influence. These niggas had a plan, and they finally found a way to rope you into it. 2 separate albums dissing. I just did a cam to it. Nigga skimmed through it." There are a few different theories about why Future turned against Drake, but a lot of people think it had to do with Drake getting into it with Metro Boomin, who has been Future's producer for years. Metro Boomin and Drake started beefing in 2023 after Metro tweeted about her loss winning Rap Album of the Year over his album, Heroes and Villains. Metro thought Drake was only winning because of industry politics. Metro later deleted the tweet, but not before Drake saw it. Drake unfollowed him and made a comment on a kick stream about how all the tweet and deleters make him sick to his stomach.
To the rest of you, the non-believers, the underachievers, the tweet and deleters, you guys make me sick to my stomach, fam.
So Metro responded by posting the viral, "Whoa, calm down, Jamal, don't pull out the 9 meme." Fans were convinced that they had issues. It also didn't help that Metro admitted he took Drake off a song on Heroes and Villains. Drake heard the song Trance with Young Thug and Travis Scott and decided to record a verse, but Metro felt it didn't fit the vibe of the song and ended up using the original with just Thug and Travis. The Drake version ended up leaking online, and fans were wondering why Metro would cut a Drake feature from his album that didn't have problems. Metro said he just liked the original version better.
I just felt like, just even with like Slime verse and Trav verse and the outro, it was just already like, it just really wasn't no room. It was just wasn't no room. It wasn't nothing personal. It just wasn't no room. So I just ended up using the original.
Metro also responded to a fan tweet about his issues with Drake and said that it wasn't that deep, but something must have happened behind the scenes, because a few months later, Metro teamed up with Future to drop We Don't Trust You, which was full of shots at Drake. Metro is one of the main people involved in the beef who was tweeting throughout the whole thing. He even claims that his phone and iCloud was hacked and he was getting non-stop calls from Toronto, Canada, which made him think OVO was behind it. When Drake dropped his response track, Push Ups, he took a direct shot at Metro, rapping, "Metro, shut your whole ass up and make some drums, nigga." Some people thought that was Drake's best diss in the whole beef because Metro isn't a rapper and all he could do to respond is make drums. But it may have backfired because Metro ended up making a beat he called BBL Drizzy. He also started the hashtag BBL Drizzy beat giveaway and offered a free beat to whoever wrote the best rap using the BBL Drizzy beat. So people from all over the world were using the beat and making Drake diss songs. Drake also had a bar for Metro on his next response track, Family Matters, where he rapped, "Just like how Metro niggas slimed him for his main squeeze." Drake was claiming that one of Metro's friends slept with his girlfriend, Chelsea Cotton. Metro denied it on Twitter and said that they grew up together and she wasn't even in the industry, so it doesn't make any sense. After Kendrick came back with his diss tracks, Drake had a lot more to worry about than Metro. But after the beef was over, Drake hopped on the track with Sexy Red and even rapped over the BBL Drizzy beat for a few bars. Metro isn't the only former collaborator that Drake took shots at in the beef. He also had a few bars for a dude he almost signed, The Weeknd. The beef between Drake and The Weeknd goes way back. Drake gave The Weeknd one of his first big cosigns in 2010 by posting his music on the OVO blog and linking up for a show in Toronto. The Weeknd also had a feature on the track Crew Love from Take Care. After the song blew up, Drake tried to sign him to OVO, but The Weeknd ended up signing to Republic instead. That's when their relationship started to change. After the news broke, Drake tweeted, "You won't get away with just a thank you. You owe me a favor." It only got worse after The Weeknd took a shot at Drake in an interview with Rolling Stone in 2015 and revealed why he didn't sign the OVO. The Weeknd claimed that he wrote a lot more than just Crew Love on Take Care and basically gave up half his own album to help Drake make the project. Drake doesn't like getting exposed for using ghostwriters, so ever since that interview, they've had problems. In 2017, there were also rumors going around that Drake hooked up with The Weeknd's ex, Bella Hadid. Bella denied it and said that she and Drake were just friends. But that didn't stop The Weeknd from taking a shot at Drake's baby mama on the song Lost in the Fire. On the song, The Weeknd said, "And I just want a baby with the right one, cause I can never be the one to hide one." This was only a few months after Drake got exposed for knocking up a porn star and hiding his son from the world, so fans thought it was a clear shot at Drake. Drake later responded on the song War, but made it seem like they were all good, rapping, "And the boy that sounded like he sang on Thriller, you know that's been my nigga. Yeah, we just had to fix things. Family 16s. We can't split up." Drake and The Weeknd are both from Toronto or the Six, so fans thought it meant they talked and patched things up. But either Drake was lying or The Weeknd still had his own issues, because when everyone started going at Drake in 2024, he jumped right in with them. When Metro and Future's second mixtape, We Still Don't Trust You, dropped, The Weeknd hopped on the song All to Myself and said, "They could never diss my brothers, baby, when they got leaks in their operation. I thank God that I never signed my life away, and we never do the big talk. They shooters making TikToks, got us laughing in the Lambo." The Weeknd was making it clear that he's riding with Metro and Future in the beef. Just like Kendrick and Pusha T, he claims there's a leak in OVO and also says he's happy he never signed to him. He also takes a shot at Drake's alleged shooter, Waka Not Nice, who claims to be a street dude but is also known for making TikToks. The Weeknd didn't call out Drake directly, but it was pretty clear who he was talking about. Drake responded by dissing The Weeknd by name on push-ups, rapping, "Cash blowing Abel bread, out here tricking. Shit we do for bitches, he doing for niggas." This is also a shot at The Weeknd's manager, Cash XO, who Drake claims is spending all The Weeknd's money on other dudes. Drake also had a similar line about The Weeknd on Family Matters, where he raps, "Abel, run your fucking bread. Need to buy some more chains for some more guys." On Family Matters, Drake also responded to the lines about her shooters making TikToks and claimed that The Weeknd was still mad at him for hooking up with Bella Hadid, rapping, "If Drake shooters doing TikToks, nigga, realest shooter in your gang, that's P's brother. Y'all ain't getting shit shot, nigga. Can't listen to the stick talking falsetto. Save it for a hip-hop nigga. You don't even be at home, dog. You a souvenir out the gift shop, nigga. Still mad about that one hoe? We ain't even fuck. I just lip lock with her." Even though they never dissed each other directly, there are rumors that Drake and Travis Scott are also beefing. After Like That dropped, an old clip started going around showing Travis begging Future to play the unreleased track at Rolling Loud. So Travis had clearly heard the song before it came out, and fans thought it meant he had issues with Drake. It's possible that Travis didn't know it was a diss track because the version Future performed live didn't have Kendrick's verse. But then Drake added more fuel to the rumors by pretending to shoot Travis during a concert. During a show at Penn State University Park, Drake was performing with a giant inflatable head that looked like Travis floating above the stage. Drake performed his verse from Meltdown, a song from Travis's album Utopia. But at the end of the verse, Drake pretended to shoot at the Travis Scott head right before it blew up with explosives. Drake and Travis have made some huge records, but Travis is also pretty tight with Future and Metro Boomin, so it wouldn't be that shocking if he took their side in the beef. DJ Academics also said on stream,
"Yo, I found out Drake has an op that none of us know. That is a huge rapper that we all think is his friend. I found that out like 2 days ago. I won't even drop the name."
But a lot of people thought he was talking about Travis. Nav is another rapper who wasn't directly involved in the beef, but still got wrapped up in the drama. Nav is also from Toronto and used to have a good relationship with Drake. In 2022, Nav said on the Full Send podcast,
"We did a song, I feel like, we could have done a better song, and the time frame was just, not good. It didn't work out. And he's such a big artist that I didn't want to put the song on the album and have it take away from anything else on the album."
But Nav still called Drake a great person and said that they hang out all the time in Toronto. So fans were confused when they noticed Nav had unfollowed Drake after the Like That verse dropped. Drake also clearly noticed because he trolled Nav by using a line from one of his songs as an Instagram caption, writing, "I ain't picking up. I'm in Turks, lil' baby." Even though they seem tight, Nav is also signed to The Weeknd's label XO and has worked closely with Metro Boomin, so he may have been forced to pick a side. It seems like everyone in the industry has a problem with Drake, and even NBA players are getting involved. Drake even took a shot at Ja Morant after he sided with Future and Metro Boomin in the beef. After Like That dropped, Metro Boomin tweeted, "Once you pick a side, stay there," warning everyone in the industry to be careful about who they were backing in the beef. Ja Morant had responded by replying, "Stay on that side," letting everyone know whose side he was on. So when Drake dropped his response track Push-Ups, he took a shot at Ja Morant, rapping, "Nigga, shout out to the hooper that be busting out the gritty. We know why you mad, nigga, I ain't even tripping. All that little heartbroken Twitter shit for bitches." Ja Morant is known for doing a dance move called the gritty, but it seems like Drake's problems with Ja may be even deeper than just a tweet. According to social media, the beef really started after Ja Morant started dating one of Drake's exes, Johanna Leah. Johanna is a model and influencer who also happens to be the mother of the Charlotte Hornets guard, Amari Bailey. They met after Drake started going to basketball games at Sierra Canyon High School. He was later spotted having a private dinner with Johanna inside of Dodger Stadium after a fan randomly flew over them in a plane. The relationship didn't last long, and a few months later, there were rumors that Johanna was seeing Ja Morant. Ja got caught liking a bunch of her photos on Instagram, and Johanna was seen at a bunch of Memphis Grizzlies games during the 2022 season. So on Push-Ups, Drake seems to be dissing Ja for beefing with him over a female and going to Twitter instead of addressing him directly. That wasn't the first time Drake got into a beef with another celebrity over a woman. Back in 2012, he even got into a brawl with Chris Brown over Rihanna. Drake and Chris Brown were homies back in the day. In 2010, Drake confirmed in an interview that he had been in the studio with Chris and they were seen hanging out together at basketball games and at the club. Drake was also featured on the remix to Chris Brown's song, Deuces, but their relationship started to change after there were rumors going around that Drake was dating Rihanna after she broke up with Chris for assaulting her. Even though they denied being in a relationship, Drake and Rihanna were spotted kissing in public and were also making a lot of music together back then. At first, Chris didn't address it, but things got pretty heated after Drake jumped into a Twitter beef between Chris and Meek Mill. There were rumors that Chris took Meek Mill off of a song because he heard that Meek had hooked up with Rihanna. They started going back and forth on Twitter, and Meek told Chris that these chicks belonged to the gang, not him. Drake had just been spotted holding hands with Rihanna at Club Live in Miami, and he decided to get involved and replied, "Oh, that's your hoe? That's our hoe too, LOL." Then, Drake and Chris Brown ran into each other at a club in New York, and the situation got serious. They were both at the WIP nightclub in New York for the singer Ne-Yo's manager's birthday party. Drake and his crew went to confront him, and Chris told him to bounce. Someone in Drake's crew then took a swing at Chris, which led to a massive fight in the middle of the club, with champagne, bottles, and glasses getting thrown everywhere. The club had to be shut down, and multiple celebrities were injured, including NBA player Tony Parker, who was hit with a piece of glass that scratched his eye. For years after that, Chris Brown and Drake didn't like each other, but after enough time had passed, they eventually ended the beef in 2019 by collaborating together on the track No Guidance. Drake later admitted that the beef started over Rihanna, and once she was out of both of their lives, it didn't really make sense to keep the beef going, so they decided to let it go and get back to the studio.
I think we just both grew up to the point that that person that was kind of, you know, in the middle of us is like no longer a part of like either of our like lives currently. I decided to go ahead with it, and you know, I was hearing from people that he was in a really good space to link up.
Even though Drake patched things up with Chris Brown, it seems like he still has feelings for Rihanna, and he started dissing her current boyfriend, A$AP Rocky. Like a lot of rappers Drake beefs with, him and A$AP Rocky started out as homies. Drake took A$AP out on his Club Paradise tour in 2012, along with Kendrick. Drake also appeared on Rocky's first album on the track Fucking Problems, alongside Kendrick and 2 Chainz. But it seems like Drake got jealous after Rocky and Rihanna started getting serious and had a kid together. When Drake dropped his album For All the Dogs, fans pointed out a lot of sneak disses they thought were about the couple. In the intro for the track Fear of Heights, Drake raps, hey, look, why they make it sound like I'm still hung up on you? That can never be me. Gal can't run me. Better him than me, better it's not me. I'm anti. Yeah, and the sex was average with you. Yeah, I'm anti, cause I had it with you. Anti is the name of Rihanna's last album, which is what made fans think it was a diss about her and Rocky. Drake also mentioned A$AP Rocky by name on the track Another Late Night with Lil Yachty, where he raps, I ain't pretty Flacco, bitch. This shit get really rocky. It could have just been a play on words if he didn't already diss A$AP Rocky and Rihanna on another track. But Rocky clearly took it as a diss, because when everyone else started going at Drake, he made an appearance song, We Still Don't Trust You. On the song Show of Hands, Rocky dissed Drake rapping, Call up Pluto, Metro, should've put me on the first one. Niggas swear they bitch the baddest, I just bagged the worst one. Niggas in their feelings over women. What? You heard or something? I smashed before you birthed, son. Flacco hit it first, son. Rocky's taking credit for bagging the baddest chick in the game and says Drake is just in his feelings because he couldn't be with her. But in the last line, it sounds like ASAP is also claiming that he slept with Drake's baby mama, Sophie Brousseau, before Drake got her pregnant. Drake then responded to ASAP Rocky on Family Matters, rapping, Rakim talking shit again, gas cause you hit my BM first, nigga do the math, who I was hitting then? I ain't even know you rap still, cause they only talking about your fit again. Probably gotta have a kid again, before you think of dropping any shit again. Even when you do drop, they gon' say you should've modeled, cause it's mid again. So Drake seems to be confirming that ASAP Rocky did sleep with his baby mama, but Drake claims it doesn't matter, cause he was also hooking up with Rihanna at the same time. He also said Rocky fell off in the industry cause he hasn't dropped an album in years. But it isn't just the rappers from this generation Drake has problems with. He's also had plenty of beefs with hip-hop legends too, including one of the biggest rappers of all time, Jay-Z. Their beef really started in 2014, after Drake clowned Jay for rapping about his art collection in an interview with Rolling Stone. Drake said that Hov couldn't write a song without making at least 3 or 4 art references. He also said that the whole rap art world thing was getting pretty corny. Jay-Z responded by calling Drake Miss Drizzy on a remix to Jay Electronica's song We Made It. On the track, Jay rapped, "Sorry Mrs. Drizzy for so much art talk, silly me rapping about shit that I really bought. While these rappers rap about guns they ain't shot, and a bunch of other silly shit that they ain't got." A few weeks later, Drake responded on the song Draft Day, rapping, "I'm focused on making records and getting bigger. Just hits, no misses. That's for the married folk." In that bar, Drake is responding to the Mrs. Drizzy line and claims that Jay just isn't on his level anymore when it comes to hits. So, Jay sent a warning shot at Drake on the DJ Khaled song, They Don't Love You No More. Jay-Z questioned Drake's street cred and said he wasn't ready for that type of beef, rapping, "Niggas talk down on the crown. Watch them niggas you round got you wound. Haters want a ball, let me tighten up my drawstring. Wrong sport, boy. You know you soft as a lacrosse team." Drake didn't respond right away, but in 2016, he threw more gas on the fire by calling himself the new Jay-Z. On the track Summer 16, Drake rapped, "I used to want to be on Rockefeller, then I turned into Jay." It wasn't a direct diss, but it could be taken as Drake claiming he took Jay-Z's spot as the biggest rapper in the game. It seems like Jay-Z might have taken it that way, because later that year, he blocked a verse from ending up on Drake's album. Drake dropped the song Pop Style as one of the singles for his album Views. The song originally included a feature from The Throne, aka Kanye and Jay-Z, but fans were confused because Jay only had 2 bars on the song. Then when the album dropped, the Throne feature wasn't even on the song. Drake later revealed that it was Kanye who got Jay to record the lines and it was supposed to be a full verse, but the business didn't work out how he planned, so he decided to drop a different version without the feature. Around that time, Jay-Z also took a shot at Drake for claiming to be the new Hov. On the DJ Khaled song, I Got the Keys, Jay raps, "Niggas always asking me the key. Till you own your own, you can't be free. Till you're on your own, you can't be me. How we still slaves in 2016. Jay-Z was saying Drake wasn't on his level yet because he didn't own his music. Drake responded to the diss on the track Sneakin' with 21 Savage, where he raps, "You ain't own it right away. You had to wait on niggas. Man, I'm only 29. Have some patience with us. Plus, I never met nobody from my label, nigga. I just pop up with the music, then they pay a nigga." Even though he did start his own label, technically, Jay-Z didn't own his masters until 2015, when he was in his 40s. So Drake was saying he has plenty of time to get his business straight. Jay-Z responded on the DJ Khaled song, Shining, and reminded Drake that he isn't on his level, rapping, 12 solo albums, all platinum, nigga. I know you ain't out here talking numbers, right? I know you ain't out here talking summers, right? I know you ain't walking around talking down. But after that, the beef started to die down. They officially squashed it in 2018 when Jay-Z had a feature on Drake's album Scorpion. They also took a picture together at Ford Field in Detroit to show the world they were cool. Luckily, they were able to squash the beef before things got too serious. But the same can't be said about this next dude who allegedly punched Drake in the face for using the beat. Diddy has been accused of all kinds of wild things, but way before his most recent allegations, Diddy was accused of assaulting Drake outside a club in Miami. In 2014, Drake and Diddy were both at Club Live in Miami for DJ Khaled's birthday party when they got into a fight. At first, it wasn't clear what the fight was over, but then Diddy was heard yelling, "You will not disrespect me," before punching Drake in the face. Drake reportedly had to be taken to the hospital with a shoulder injury. A Originally, rumors were going around that the fight started because Drake was flirting with Diddy's then girlfriend, Cassie. But Sam Sneak, a DJ affiliated with Maybach Music, who saw it all happen, tweeted that it definitely wasn't over Cassie. Not long after the fight, a video started going around that showed Diddy dissing Drake over the 0 to 100 beat. One of the producers, Boy Wonder, had given the beat to both Diddy and Drake. Diddy was planning on using it, but hadn't written anything for 8 months. So Drake got frustrated and decided to use it himself. 0 to 100 was a huge hit and even won a Grammy, so Diddy felt disrespected that Drake basically stole the beat. According to TMZ, Drake and Diddy eventually squashed the beef by getting on a phone call about a year later. But once someone puts their hands on you, it's hard to let it go completely. In 2016, Drake dropped 4 PM in Calabasas, which was mainly a diss about Joe Budden and Meek Mill, but Drake also had a few bars that fans think are about Diddy. On the song, Drake raps, "Even had the OGs trying to press me, no way out cause I'm already in it." He also took an even more direct shot at Diddy later in the song, rapping, "Certain shit is just too wild to reconcile. Take that, no love in their heart, so they fake that. DiCaprio level, the way they play that." Take that is Diddy's signature catchphrase. Plus, after the fight, Diddy was going around and telling everyone he loved Drake and he was his favorite artist. According to Drake, it was all fake love, and Diddy was just putting on an act to avoid bad press. Even though Drake was sneak dissing, TMZ reported that Drake and Diddy had squashed the beef a long time ago and that they were friends now. But years later, Kanye revealed that it was more serious than anyone knew. In 2022, Kanye said on the Lex Fridman podcast that back when Drake and Diddy were beefing, they got into a fight backstage at the Yeezy Season 1 fashion show in 2015. Apparently, it got pretty heated, and Jay-Z had to step in to break it up. Diddy and Jay-Z aren't the only rappers from the older generation who had beef with Drake. Drake has also had issues with another hip-hop legend, Mos Def. Mos Def also threw some shade at Drizzy during an interview, and Drake responded by calling him a crackhead. It all started after Mos Def was asked if he considered Drake to be hip-hop during an interview.
Drake is
we're here
pop.
for truth. We're here for
Drake
truth.
Drake is pop to me.
Right, that's fair. In the sense that it's charting like pop music, popular music?
In the sense, like, if I was in Target in Houston and I heard a Drake song.
Drake responded by sharing an old Method Man interview to his Instagram, where Method Man explained that hip-hop wasn't just about music, and that it was about culture and way of life. Drake captioned the video, "What Umi say again? Let me shine my light, king. Don't change up now." Umi Says is a Mos Def song, so it was pretty obvious who Drake was calling out. Drake also found a clip that music industry exec Kofi Carmichael shared where he talks about the marriage between Mos Def and a woman named Alana Wyatt Smith. Kofi claims that Mos Def met Alana in Toronto and a week later they got married. Underneath the clip, Drake commented, "Bohemian Bucket." Bucket in Toronto slang basically means crackhead. A lot of hip-hop fans were mad that Drake was disrespecting a rap legend like that, but Mos Def finally responded and made it clear he doesn't want any problems with Drake. Mos Def admitted that Drake is very talented and that he has no personal problem with him.
The young man is very talented. He's been able to be very successful with that talent, and I have no issue with his success or anything that he's been able to achieve as a result of his talent. And Drake, if you're watching or if you come across this, that's not my intention, brother. I've never had no issue with you personally. I don't know you well enough to even have any sort of issue with you in that regard.
Mos Def also said that he reached out to Dave Chappelle to try and connect them, and he'd be open to speaking to Drake directly if he still had any issues. Drake has had so many different problems with people in the industry that it's even caused static within his own team. His beef with Meek Mill almost caused him to fall out with one of his label mates at Young Money, Nicki Minaj. Nicki was dating Meek at the time he was beefing with Drake, so she got stuck in the middle. And according to rumors, Nicki might have even been the one who started it. According to DJ Academics,
Nicki Minaj goes to a store. I don't know if it was Louis Vuitton or some high expensive store. They grab a bunch of shit. Meek had a bunch of cash on him. Cash. He was gonna pay for the shit. The shit came up to more cash than he had. He looks at Nicki, says, "Yo, could you pay for this with like your card?" She separated her shit from his, says, "Yo, I'm only paying for this," and gives her card. And she looks at him before she walks out the store and leaves and says, "Drake, wouldn't do that shit. In terms of Drake wouldn't ask me to pay for no shit like that.
So when Meek saw fans comparing him to Drake online, it made Meek extra mad and he lost it. According to Nicki, that beef was one of the hardest parts of her career because she had love for both of them. But a few years after the beef, she took shots at Meek and Drake on the track Barbie Dreams. On the song, Nicki rapped, "Drake worth 100 mil, he always buying me shit, but I don't know if the pussy wet or if he crying and shit. Meek still be in my DMs, I be having to duck him. I used to pray for times like this face ass when I fuck him." Drake and Nicki collabed all the time back in the day, but after they started making less music together, fans thought they might have real problems. But they later linked up in 2022 at Drake's Young Money reunion tour and posted a video on IG to show fans it was all love. But just cause Nicki let it go doesn't mean her fan base did. A few months before For All the Dogs drops, Drake announced that Nicki would be on the album. When it later dropped in November 2023, it was full of big names, but Nicki was nowhere to be found. Nicki's fans felt disrespected and started attacking Drake on Twitter and accused him of using Nicki just to hype up his album. Drake has always bounced back even when he takes a loss, but this time might be different. Half of the industry is beefing with him at the same time, and nobody knows if his career is ever going to be the same.